Alright, after just making a video about the Chiefs signing former Broncos running back Melvin Gordon, they made another move today for a former Raiders wide receiver. So let's talk about that, look at some key takeaways from the Chiefs versus Rams game, an updated injury report, Skyy Moore getting taken off of punt returns, and much freaking more. But first, how about those? What's up, guys? My name is Cole and I do daily news about the Kansas City Chiefs. So make sure to sub if you're new, hit that like button if you're glad that even though the win was not pretty yesterday against the Rams, the Chiefs still got a dub, and let's get into this video. We're going to start off with some quick thoughts about yesterday's game. I rewatched it again today, and some key takeaways were Frank Clark is sneaky good against the run and maybe one of the most underrated players on the team this season. In fact, Coach Reid mentioned in his presser that Frank may be playing better so far this season than he did in his first year with the team, which is pretty freaking high praise from Coach Reid, especially considering he sat Frank Clark down at the end of last season and basically said he did not play well. Another takeaway from the game is that Kelce once again shows how unguardable he really can be when he beat Jalen Ramsey, of all people, one-on-one during his 39-yard TD reception early in the game. Jalen Ramsey is a top cornerback in the NFL, and even he can't guard him. Well, that's because Kelce is the freaking GOAT.
It's trying to headbutt me, bro.
And with that TD connection between QB Patrick Mahomes and tight end Travis Kelce, it's the 46th touchdown between the two, and that ties Lynn Dawson and Otis Taylor 46 for the most TD connections between any QB and pass catcher in franchise history. Literally, history in the making. Another takeaway is that Isaiah Pacheco is continuing to get the undisputed nod as RB1 and had another great showing overall yesterday, carrying the ball 22 times for 69 yards and a touchdown, and that's with a lot of those carries coming at the end of the game as they were intentionally draining the clock. Side note, shout out to Ronald Jones as well, who suited up for the first time. He caught a crazy, nice little catch out of the backfield for 22 yards, had a few nice runs as well. It was nice to see that man get his little mitts dirty for the first time this season. But back to Pacheco. This is the third game in a row. He has now carried the ball over 15 times, and that is nice and cool and all of that. But I'll tell you this, Pacheco does not care one bit about the amount of reps he gets. He is just grateful to be here and to be trusted with the ball in his hands.
It doesn't really matter the carries, how many reps, how many play. I do whatever to help the team win. For me, just keep working hard at practice. So when it comes out in the games, we can execute on a fast pace. I'm a dog. I'm going to keep working, and I'm thankful to be here.
And Matt McMullen also noted that Isaiah Pacheco ranks 4th in the NFL in rushing yards since Week 10 with 258 yards on the ground. He's averaging 4.87 yards per carry in that time since Week 10. Well, bravo, and let's keep it going. I don't know how you cannot love this man as a player in the game. At least another person that I've been enjoying watching out there is Nick Bolton. Nick the Hit Stick Bolton, I don't know, I just made that up, who once again led the team in tackles with 11. He had his second interception as well in 2 weeks, and Andy Reid even said that this man is having an all-pro season. L'Jarius Sneed also had an INT, as well as 7 tackles, a batted down pass on a blitz, a tackle for loss, and he leads all corners in the NFL with 62 tackles, as well as pressures, 16, and sacks, 4. Sneed really seems to be all over the place, and I hope he remains in Kansas City for a long, long freaking time. Okay, to summarize this game, here's basically what went down. The Chiefs had a scrimmage against the Rams that just so happened to be on television. They were still practicing Skyy on punt returns and then having him throw Mahomes a backwards pass later on. And they are so good at this game that they went 1 for 6 in the red zone and still won by 16 points. It's also worth mentioning the fact that Harrison Butker scored 14 points in that game and again went perfect for the second game in a row. Definitely doing much better. Looks like his ankle's feeling well and his mental state is A-okay, which you gotta really love. Overall, it was an ugly win, yes, but a dub is a dub is a freaking dub. And since the Chiefs won their game yesterday, there's some definite stats I want to share with you guys that I read and found to be pretty cool. Andy Reid, with this win, secured a 10th consecutive winning season, and this was the Chiefs' 5th straight win, and they've had a winning streak of at least 5 games in each of Andy Reid's 10 seasons. Incredible. Patrick Mahomes currently leads the NFL in passing yards, 3,585, in passing TDs, 29 through 11 games. He leads second place in those categories by 402 yards and 6 touchdowns, and he also now has more wins, 59, than any other QB through his first 75 games in NFL history. And next week, will be Mahomes' 75th game. He can make it 60 with a dub against the Bengals. The 59th win broke a tie with Raiders legend Ken Stabler with 58. Beating the Rams yesterday also made that 13 straight wins for Mahomes in the month of November, and he's now 26-0 in the months of November and December, totaling 54 TDs, 16 interceptions, and averaging 311.5 passing yards per game. Chris Jones in this game as well got his 10th sack, and he's outplaying Aaron Donald on almost every level and is officially the first player to post double-digit sacks for Steve Spagnuolo's defense. That's an interesting stat. He leads the NFL in sacks since week 6 with 8. His 10 total sacks on the season are his most since 2018, and with that 10th sack on the year, he earned himself a nice wee little $1.25 million incentive bonus. Nice. All right, it's injury report time. Thankfully, there are no real injuries to announce or update on, though last night, after the game, in coach's presser, he said Deon Bush hurt his elbow a bit but should be good to go. However, in his presser today, he did not mention Deon when touching on injuries again. He basically just said that there aren't really any new injuries, which is good news. There is, though, still questions about players like Kadarius Toney and how his hamstring is doing, and Coach Reid said that Toney is working hard to recover, but made it seem that they are being almost overly cautious with his hamstring so they don't see another setback this season. Coach said, quote, "We are taking it day to day and we'll just see where he's at." Yeah, well, great. Day to day. Who knows what that means? But here's the thing. You got to look long term. Toney's going to be here for another 2 to 3 years, so they got to take care of this man. They got to get it right, and hopefully, worst case scenario, we see him in the postseason. The positive there is he's going to have a lot more knowledge of the playbook and all that stuff by then, so that's good. More injury news. We got a bit of an unofficial update from another wide receiver, Mecole Hardman, today on Twitter as he tweeted this out. "Damn, it feels good to lift weights again," which tells me he's starting to get better from whatever abdomen injury he's been dealing with that put him on IR, and hopefully it's up from here. And we get more details on how long he's going to be out. If you forgot, he was placed on IR on November 17th, which makes him eligible to return for the game against the Texans on December 18th, but he could be out for longer. It's just a minimum of that amount of time. And as far as those who did not play yesterday, aside from Kadarius Toney and Mecole Hardman out on IR, you had left guard Joe Thuney and safety Juan Thornhill, who were out as well. No real updates on them, so we'll have to just wait for later in the week to see how they're really doing, unless Coach Reid gives more of an update tomorrow. Maybe. I freaking doubt it. I will say, though, that Nick Allegretti seemed to do a pretty good job filling in for Thuney from what I could tell. And then safety Brian Cook did a good job stepping up in Juan Thornhill's stead. Regardless, though, I would love to see them both back on Sunday if possible, because we're not playing a completely depleted Rams team with a third-string quarterback. We are playing the Bengals, who are pretty good. Beat us twice last year. You know the deal. Way different team. All right, though, after touching on injuries, Coach Reid said the team played well yesterday, but we're not perfect. They need to do a better job in the red zone, which is something they're normally great at prior to this game. I haven't checked the updated stats, but prior to this game, they were the third best in the league at scoring TDs in the red zone at like 72%. But Coach said they were a tick off last night, to which he said he knows some of the issues, but he's not going to address them here on the platform because they're about to play the Bengals. Mahomes also spoke about his inability to execute in the red zone.
No, I mean, they did a good job. At the end of the day, they got great players. They still have a great defense over there. They did a great job of kind of passing off crossers down there. They were in the right spots, kind of where I wanted to go. So, I mean, they had a good game plan. I have to find ways to execute at a higher level, get it to those guys in space, and when we do have chances, we have to make sure that we get in the end zone. So that's just something that we can go back on film and get better at.
So yeah, he knows it was an issue. We know it was an issue. They were 1 for 6 in the red zone yesterday, and it was pretty bad, to say the least. Hats off, though, to the Rams defense. We got to give credit where credit is due, but we got to do better next time. In other news, Andy Reid basically confirmed that Skyy Moore will be taken off returning punts. No more from that man. He said, "We gave Skyy a second chance to do it, and it didn't go as well as we hoped." Coach did say, though, that Skyy is a competitive kid. It crushed him when he muffed another punt, but he had a great showing on offense, and he really did. He had 5 catches on 6 targets for 36 yards and proved that he definitely belongs out there on the field, just not returning punts. So please, Let's never see him there again. And Andy Reid, again, pretty much confirmed it, but he did not confirm who would be replacing Skyy Moore. More than likely right now, Justin Watson until McCole Hardman returns from IR or Kadarius Toney's hamstring heals up. The only other option that I could think of right now is Smith Marset from the practice squad. He could get called up. He has some returning experience under his belt. So those are some options. It's probably going to be Justin Watson, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, from here, we got to talk about some roster transactions that happened today. First off, I talked about this earlier, but the Chiefs signed former Broncos running back Melvin Gordon to the practice squad today. The Broncos waived him last week. He cleared waivers, and the Chiefs conveniently scooped him up just a couple of weeks prior to playing the Broncos twice in the span of about 3 to 4 weeks. He does have 6,462 rushing yards, 55 TDs in his career since getting drafted in 2015. But the highlight stat is that throughout his career, he's fumbled 26 times, losing 18 of them, and nobody in the NFL has more fumbles or lost fumbles than Gordon over the past decade. In fact, in his 2-year stint with the Broncos, he fumbled a dozen times, losing 9 of them in just this season. In the 10 games he's played, he's fumbled 5 times and lost 2 of them. So it's safe to say that fumbles are a problem with this man, and I actually heard when his agent called to let him know that the Chiefs were signing him to the practice squad, he fumbled his phone mid-call and is currently at Verizon getting his cell phone repaired. All right, bad joke, I know, naughty, bad Cole. But seriously, a positive here is that according to Nate Taylor, Melvin Gordon averaged 8.9 yards per reception earlier this season, so that is something at least. I think this move is a combo of shoring up some running back depth with a tenured veteran with Clyde Edwards-Helaire on IR, but also because the Chiefs play the Broncos twice in the next 5 weeks or so, you're going to have to let me know what combination of those two things you think it is, and if it's more because they play the Broncos or more because CEH is out on IR. Remember, we have the running back wide receiver hybrid Jerrion Ealy on the practice squad still. I believe he's back from his suspension, and then running back Wayne Gallman. So we have a couple more there, as well as Jerick McKinnon, Isaiah Pacheco, and Ronald Jones. CEH should maybe, hopefully be back later this season. We'll have to wait and see. And by the way, the Chiefs were not done here with the Melvin Gordon signing. I found out a bit later that they also signed wide receiver Bryan Edwards to the practice squad. Edwards was a 3rd-round draft pick by the Raiders in 2020 who had a pretty awesome college career at South Carolina, leading his school in receptions, receiving yards, and was second in receiving touchdowns with 22. He's only 24 years old, 6'3", 212 pounds, and ran a 4.53 40 at the 2020 NFL Combine. He played for the Raiders for a couple years, racking up nearly 75 targets, 800 yards, and 4 TDs with them. But this past offseason, he was traded to the Falcons along with a conditional 2023 7th-round pick in exchange for a 2023 5th-round pick. However, he struggled to catch on with the Falcons, recording only 3 catches for 15 yards in 6 games, and was waived on Thanksgiving Day.
I swear to you, this will be your most memorable Thanksgiving.
I think he's just some added depth for the moment with various receivers getting banged up. Kadarius Toney, Juju was out recently due to a concussion, McCole Hardman out on IR, and it's worth noting though that according to the Chiefs roster on their website, they still have 4 other receivers on the practice squad other than Edwards. You have the wide receiver running back hybrid Jerrion Ealy, Marcus Kemp, Cornell Powell, and Ihmir Smith-Marsette. So I believe this makes number 5 at the moment on the practice squad. And to make room for Bryan Edwards, the Chiefs have waived defensive end Azur Kamara from the practice squad. His position was simply not needed with the return of Frank Clark from suspension. So that was a lot to spew y'all's way. You got to let me know your thoughts on all of this. What do you think about the new wide receiver signing in Edwards? What do you think about Melvin Gordon being here? And what did you think overall about the game against the Rams? What were some standout things for you from that game? Some key little nuggets, takeaways, all that good stuff. Let me know in the comments down below. We'll fight about it down there per usual. And until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?